Joining us now with advice is Stephen MacLaren. He's Commercial Director at 7 Insurance Brokers. Haven't seen you for a while, Stephen. I hope you're well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Well, I'm very glad to hear it. And one of the reasons why we're doing this topic is because it's sort of something from my life. I realised that I've hardly been to the doctor for the last year. I'm getting on a bit, and maybe it's time to do a little bit of preventative medicine. And I just didn't know what I was allowed. And so, like the geek I am, last night I printed out my policy and looked through everything that I am and I'm not allowed. I'm covered by my husband's insurance. It's actually very good. I hadn't realised it was so good. And it's totally reframed how I can access healthcare in the country. And as I was doing it, I was thinking, I wonder how many other people are in this experience. So let's start with the most common mistakes that most people make when they are renewing their health insurance. What would you suggest? How would you suggest people should get it right? Because it's such a big expenditure sometimes.
I would put it into three categories. There's the individuals that are making the choice themselves, individuals and families, let's just call it individuals. Then you've got small businesses that are typically up to about 150 people or members. And then you've got the large corporates, which is probably a husband's one, where you can tailor it much more so and get really what you want. So it depends on which category you're in. And I would say certainly in the Dubai market, it's a much bigger individual market than I ever anticipated. So many self-employed people, well, one-man bands, if you like, they're setting up that need insurance. And there's a lot of pitfalls. Fundamentally, people need advice more than ever. Because the only thing they seem to buy on by far is price. And the value of that is just lost in them.
Okay, so what should they be looking at instead of just price? You know, what are the key pointers? You know, like, does dentistry matter? Does mental health matter? You know, does the you know, for example, with cancer care, that's the big fear for everyone. Do you need to look at the number there? You know, for example, is it 9 million or something?
I think we should start with what's actually insurance about, which is to cover what you can't afford. That's the principle of insurance. In the UAE market, we have mandatory health insurance that everyone has to have, and it's covering all the outpatient doctor's visits that you need to cover as well. So if you look at what's actually insurance about, it's more about what happens if you... So to answer your question about the 9 million, the largest claim I've still personally ever seen is $400,000 in 20 years. So the 9 million is a marketing ploy, a clever marketing ploy that people might say, I want to keep the 9 million, whereas $1 million for 99.999% of the claims is enough. So they look at things that they think they understand, but are actually most of the time irrelevant.
Okay, so what is important? You know, which of the lines in that terms and conditions do you think people should be really checking?
What hospitals can you get access to?
Yeah.
So again, people will typically tell me, I want to go to Mediclinic or King's or wherever, because they perceive that cost is quality. Now, I'm not knocking any healthcare facility, particularly here. It's down to finding the doctors and getting personal recommendations when you need something done, rather than just going to one facility because it's the most expensive or is costly. So finding a doctor that you can trust and a healthcare facility that you can trust and building relationships, I think, is fundamental.
Interesting. That is interesting. Okay, so how about if you're insured through your employer? So you have a little bit less independence. Is there any flexibility to upgrade or customize plans?
Not as much as I thought would happen in this market. It's common more so for tax reasons more than medical option reasons in the UK and Europe, Singapore and places like that. So you would call that flexible benefits. There are one or two companies trying to bring it in. But when you've got flexible benefits, so for example, people will understand, I've only got maybe $1,000 from my employer, but I want $3,000. The rationale will be they're more likely going to use it. So the insurers will think, well, hang on, how do I price that? So you'll tend to find benefits are more expensive for people to upgrade because they're more likely to use it. So it's a bit of a mix mash. It's difficult. There's also, for example, the British Social Club do a top-up supplemental policy called BritCare, only for British or married to a Brit, where you can take it out. And the other thing that people don't have a clue about, and I mean even insurers, is what happens when you leave here? What's your option to continue in a medical insurance if you go back to the UK where you're from, or Singapore or wherever you end up going? So it's called portability. You can take it with you, and continuity, that you can take it with you without medical evidence. Because when you leave here, as we've both talked about getting older, you're more likely going to have conditions that either become cost prohibitive for insurance, or you have to insure it and it's very, very expensive. So that's an option that people, and including insurers, very rarely even talk about.
Well, the thing is that quite a lot of policies, if you leave one company and join another, you're not allowed to take your pre-existing conditions with you to the next company. I mean, I'm talking about my parents a lot on the programme today. It's because they've both been visiting. But my mum was like, oh, I'm with Bupa. It's got quite expensive each year. It's now £6,000, which is about 35,000 dirhams. I was like, Mum, I'll pay that for you. Don't you dare cancel that policy, because if you were to ever change your mind and want to rejoin, they charge you a fortune as a new joiner. You've just got to keep it going, and that is that a genuine concern when it comes to switching providers? Because it must be tempting if you see a cheaper offer.
That's definitely the case, that people will, again, back to understand the price. They don't understand that they may have a condition that is actually covered, a pre-existing, a current or past condition that's covered with their existing insurer. They move forward. They might miss one tick box that they might not think it's relevant on an application form, and then bam, they're not covered for a pre-existing condition because they didn't even understand the question.
Are you seeing inflation in health insurance costs for 2026?
I'm laughing. So since the so-called pandemic, that yes, if even 10% is what you're told it is, personally I'm seeing it as higher.
Really? So it is going up and up.
You've got the medical inflation, medical trend, whatever you want to call it, and it's running about 10% and has done for the last 5 years. But you then also got back to age. Every year we get older, insurers have a standard age-related increase that you will have as well. So for the majority of individuals, you're looking at 10+% increase. However, back to the confusion of individuals, if they go for what's called a claims-rated scheme, which are the cheaper ones, if they start claiming, and that can include maternity delivery, they'll get the premium increased in the Dubai market by up to 100%. And if you've got cancer, which is what insurance should be about, covering the things you can't afford for many people, then you're going to get that 100% each year, and you're effectively uninsurable to move. So there's serious considerations that people haven't got a clue about. Many brokers don't talk about it. So it's absolutely the best advice is get advice from somebody that understands not just selling on price.
Goodness, I'm over time, but I just want to very quickly read out this message from Saleh, who says, I left the UAE after 30 years because of health insurance. It's such a commercialised business. The quality is average. I can't afford it if you're on your own, especially if you are above 60. Is that a fair estimation of what's going on?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's going up a lot every year. So they've left the UAE. It's a massive cost. And you talked about parents. There are people with golden visas bringing parents over here without realising what the insurance will cost. And most of them have existing conditions that require medical reports, that take time. And I've had many examples of parents coming and having to go back, sadly.
Yeah. My goodness me, it's a very interesting picture. It's clear that you need to read the fine print and not necessarily go for the cheapest deal. Stephen MacLaren, always lovely to have you in the studio. Thank you for your sage advice. Stephen is Director of Corporate Solutions for 7 Insurance Brokers.